Javstvad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Srimad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Sri Sri Gonitai Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Right. 1077. Right? Is that what? 72. 72. 1819. Right. 18. Got it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 72, the slaying of the demon Jarasandha. And we are reading verses 18 and 19. 18 doesn't have a purport, so let me just read through it, and then we'll read 19 together. Rajan vidyatitin praptan artino duramagatan tanna prayacha badram te yadvayam kamaya mahe. Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhima said, O King, know us to be needy guests who have come to you from afar. We wish all good unto you. Please grant us whatever we desire. Okay, and verse 19. Kim Durmarsham Titikshunam Kim Akaryam Asadube Kim Na Deyam Vadanyanam Ka Para Sama Darshinam. Oh, Hare Krishna. Oh, the ISKCON devote. Oh, okay. Acha. Okay. Oh, they're going to come in, is it? Inside. Okay. Krishna. Acha. Kim Durmarsham Titikshunam Kim Akaryam Asadube Kim Nadeyam Vadanyanam Kapara Samadarshanam Kim Durmarsham Titikshunam Kim Akaryam Asadupi Kim Nadeyam Vadanyanam Kapara Samadarshinam Kim Durmasham Titikshunam Kim Akaryam Asadupi Kim Nadeyam Vadanyanam Kapara Samadarshinam. Hare Krishna. Samadarshinam. Kim what? Durmarsham intolerable to take shunam for the patient. Kim what? A kardiam impossible to do. A sadhu be for the impious. Kim what? Nadeyam impossible to give away. Vadanyanam for the generous. Ka who? Para separate. Sama equal. Darshinam for those whose vision. Translation. What can the tolerant not bear? What will the wicked not do? What will the generous not give in charity? And who will those of equal vision see as an outsider? Excuse me. Purport by our BBT commentators. It's a habit. In the previous verse, Lord Krishna and the two Pandava brothers, Bhima and Arjuna, requested Jarasandha to grant them whatever they asked of him. Here they explain why there is no need for them to specify their desire. The Acharyas comment on this verse as follows. Jarasandha might be thinking, what if you request my son, from whom separation would be intolerable? To this possible objection, Krishna and the Pandavas reply, for a tolerant person, nothing is intolerable. Similarly, Jarasandha could object. What if you ask me to give my body or my precious jewels and other ornaments, which are meant to be given to my sons, not to ordinary beggars? To this they reply, for the generous, what is not to be donated in charity? In other words, everything is to be given. Jarasandha might also object that he could be giving charity to his enemies. To this, his guests counter with the statement, Ka para samadarshinam. For those with equal vision, who is a stranger? Thus, Sri Krishna and the Pandavas encouraged Jarasandha to simply agree to grant their request without further discussion. Okay, let me just read both verses again. Rajan vidyatitin pratan artino duramagatam tanna prayacha badram te tadvayam kamayama he. Krishna, Arjuna and Bhima said, O king, know us to be needy guests who have come to you from afar. We wish all good unto you. Please grant us whatever we desire. 19. Kim durmasham titikshunam, kim akaryam asadubi, kim nadayam vadanyanam, kapara samadarshanam. What can the tolerant not bear? What will the wicked not do? What will the generous not give in charity? And who will those of equal vision see as an outsider? Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpacharubhyas Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, particularly this verse 19 is a very interesting verse indeed. It is, so to speak, a type of verse. And you find in Srimad Bhagvatam and occasionally in other Puranas, you find verses which have this type of structure or like message, that type of idea. Let me just read, there's another one came up at the beginning of this canto, 10th canto, chapter 1, verse 58 is the same style of verse. And who's speaking? It's either Shukadev or it's Sutta, but it's one of the two. No, it's Shukadev. It's Shukadev Goswami, and he's saying, same idea, type of idea. What is painful for saintly persons who strictly adhere to the truth? How could there not be independence for pure devotees who know the Supreme Lord as the substance? What deeds are forbidden for persons of the lowest character? And what cannot be given up for the sake of Lord Krishna by those who have fully surrendered at his lotus feet? So obviously it's the same style, type of idea. Yes, all sorts of different types of interesting people, saintly people, pure devotees, people of low character, and devotees who are fully surrendered to the Lord. All these different considerations. And this verse here, 19, is, in principle, it's exactly the same idea. And it's really nice. It's really wonderful, actually, when you consider, well, actually, Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna, they have a special request. There's something they want. It's not just, could you give us something? Yeah, what would you like? Well, I don't know. How about something? Give me some. Anyway, it's not like that. They've got a specific idea. We want to fight with you. That's what we want. They've come disguised as Brahmins, like saintly, intellectual type of people. Not like Kshatriyas, because they are Kshatriyas even. Lord Krishna, he's sort of Kshatriya in a sense. But certainly, of course, Bhima. Oh, Bhima is a super Kshatriya. Whoa, really, really top class, super heavy Kshatriya. And Arjuna is also in a little different way, but he definitely is. But they're disguised as Brahmins, and somehow or other, at least at this stage, Jarasandha hasn't figured it out yet, but all you got to do is look at them and you see, these are very unusual looking Brahmins. These big, strongly built men, like real tough guys. And they're Brahmins, Shastris, and that sort of thing. No, how could they be? But anyway, so that was their idea. They want to fight with him, with his agreement, and they're going to, and I assume you know the story basically. It's going to work out in their favor in due course. But the thing is that Jarasandha, he doesn't know. They just asked. We read, it was in verse 18. Please grant us whatever we desire, just whatever we desire. And there are situations in Shastra where devotees or devotees have asked for something in the same mood. Please just give us whatever we want. And we know that for advanced devotees, such a request, even though it's completely non-specific and you really don't know what you're getting involved with, but you've got to go along with it. Just like, in Lord Nityananda's pastimes, that his father, Hadai Pandit, and mother, what was her name? Padmavati? Yeah. One traveling mendicant, like a traveling sannyasi type of person, he came and stayed with them for a while. And then at the end, he asked the same type of question. Can you please give me something? Yeah. And so it's completely open. He didn't say, could you give me some money? Could you give me some prasadam? Could you give me something? Just, could you give me whatever I ask you for? And they, in their mood as just completely open-hearted devotees, They just said yes. Just tell us what you want, and it's yours. And then, of course, he told them, well, okay, as you can see, I'm a traveling mendicant, and I'm not young, and I've got no one to assist me. Could you please give me Nitai? Could you give me your son Nitai? And he can come with me and help me. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. And maybe he can cook for me and wash my clothes and these types of services. And they couldn't refuse. They couldn't refuse, and they didn't refuse. And Lord Nityananda went with them, and I'm sure you know the story. He didn't really come back. Sure. And, like Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's some description. Bhakti Ratnakara, there's a more detailed description of what Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, and even for that matter, so many of the village people, how deeply, extremely deeply it affected them. It really affected them. I mean, to the point that they died of separation in due course. But that's like, real Brahman and real Brahman devotee. If you're asked for something, particularly a householder, if you're asked for something, that's it. You must give it. You must give it. Yes. And well, one of our ISKCON devotees, actually many years ago when Prabhupada was present, he was a very interesting devotee. He was brahmachari, and he was like a real strong brahmachari. He was leader, like regional secretary, and dynamic leader, brahmachari, and very sort of admired for his dynamic, enthusiastic nature. And then he decided he wanted to get married. Such is life sometimes. And so what he did, he kept wearing a saffron dhoti, but he wore a white kurta. There was an adjustment period. And gradually, eventually he got married. And somehow he ended up in England. He was from South America. Somehow he ended up in England. And he told us the story that just after he got married, he asked Prabhupada, what are my duties as a householder? It's kind of the same situation. Prabhupada could have said anything. Prabhupada said to him, be charitable, don't be miserly. And that was it. A few weeks, and he, the devotee, thought, he felt it was a deep question and he wanted a kind of detailed answer. And he thought maybe Prabhupada was just in a rush. So a few weeks later, Prabhupada was elsewhere in South America, but he was there. And he thought, let me ask again. It's like 3 weeks later. So he asked Prabhupada on a morning walk, what are the duties of a householder, Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, be charitable, don't be miserly. And that was it. And of course, for householders, that's really important. That's just really important. Of course, householders who, there's not many, but who may live in a temple and not work and not have like independent sources of income, may be a different thing. But otherwise, for your typical independent householder, and generally Prabhupada liked it that the householders live like that and earn and maintain themselves. So they should be charitable and definitely not be miserly. It's just not good. It's one of the main sadhanas for a householder, to be charitable. Yes, and another, just for your interest's sake, and this is a good one, this is a very good one. You may know Badri Narayan Swami. Now, he's a very senior devotee, and he was a householder for many years. He just recently took sannyas, I think just before COVID, so 5 or 6 years ago or something. He took sannyas, but he had been temple president for like 30 years in somewhere on the west coast of America, San Diego, I think it was. So when he first became a temple president, Prabhupada came just a week or a couple of weeks later and spent a few days in San Diego. And Badri Narayan Prabhu at the time, he thought he'd ask Prabhupada, like a deep question. What are the duties of a temple president? With the hope of getting a deep answer that must do like this and like that and not do this and not that and, something like that. So on a morning walk, he asked Prabhupada, what are the duties of a temple president? And Prabhupada said, temple president is the person who, when anything goes wrong, it's his fault. And, it's true. That was Prabhupada's expectation. I remember when I got second initiation, 1974, in Bhaktivedanta Manor, and Prabhupada was there. And the yajna was one day, and the next morning, early in the morning, Prabhupada gave those who'd received second initiation, he gave them Gayatri. And I was the first one to go in, like 5 o'clock in the morning, just straight after Mangal Arati. And Prabhupada, that was the first time I'd ever been alone with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, I had my Brahmin thread on. Prabhupada looked at me, and in a kind of stern voice, Prabhupada said, "Why have you got your thread on?" I didn't know why. I mean, they just put it on me, and so I became stunned, and I couldn't answer. And then Prabhupada asked, "Who put it on you?" And I told the name of the devotee who did the yajna. And then Prabhupada asked me, "Why did he put it on you?" And Prabhupada said, I wanted to put it on you. Then Prabhupada called for the temple president, who was Mukunda, now Mukunda Maharaj, one of the most senior original devotees in the movement. Prabhupada called for him. He was the temple president. He was like a Vanaprastha at the time. And, whenever Prabhupada would come, hundreds of devotees would come. Devotees from all over Europe would come, all over England and so on. So in the temple, staying in the temple must have been a good 300 devotees, and maybe more. And Mukunda was basically had to do everything. He had to finish his rounds before Mongol Arati. Otherwise, there'd be no time for the rest of the day. Just too busy doing things. So he gets called in, and now he's there with Prabhupada, and I'm there. And Prabhupada said to him, "Why has this boy got his Brahmin thread on?" Prabhupada expected him to know. And Mukunda became. Didn't know what to say. And Prabhupada said to him, "You are the temple president. You should know everything that is happening." Anyway, Mr. Temple President, you may all end up as temple presidents in due course. So bear that in mind. Anyway, that's kind of off the subject a bit. But the subject is a very important one. Like in a related but different situation, when you are a guest and you're staying for some days, for some time somewhere with some people, but now the time has come where you are meant to leave. You are meant to ask for permission. And don't look at me either, please. But you're meant to ask for permission. This is like Vedic etiquette. And if permission is not given, you cannot go. You're not meant to go. And there's a classic example of that in the first canto, 8th chapter. Lord Krishna, the Battle of Kurukshetra has just finished, and there's been some ceremonies and things concluding the whole event. And now it's time for Krishna to go back to Dwaraka. So he asks Maharaj Yudhisthira, "Can I leave?" And Yudhisthira says, "Well, no, you can't. You've got to stay on." And Krishna stayed on. I can't remember exactly how long, but it's like a month or something like that. He didn't just stay on for an extra hour or even an extra day. He stayed on for weeks until Yudhisthira was ready to let him go. So anyway, here we see Jarasandha. He is not a Brahmin. If he was a Brahmin, what you'd expect, if he's asked, "Well, can you please give us something?" He'd just say, "Yes. Just tell me what you want. It's yours." But he's not a Brahmin. He's a Kshatriya. And Kshatriyas, they have more like self-interest than Brahmins. So even though he was a very generous Kshatriya, generally, yeah, he was generous. He'd give Brahmins what they wanted. But here he's saying, "Well, tell me what you want and I'll think about it." Something like that. There's another case I was thinking of. Who's that? Anyway, I mean, you get a few cases of this type of situation in our literatures in Prabhupada's books. You get a few. Yeah. And people end up having to do something they weren't really intending. Or like even Bali Maharaj with Lord Vamana, that Lord Vamana said, actually Bali was, like a really open-hearted Kshatriya. You could ask him for anything and he'd give it. And so he asked Lord Vamana, who was coming as if a Brahmin, "What would you like?" And he meant, what would you like? Just tell me, and it's yours if I can. And Lord Vamana asked for 3 steps of land by my measurement, not your measurement, by my measurement. And Bali Maharaj sort of, didn't chastise him, but he sort of mocked him that, look, you're just a child. You don't understand the value of things. 3 steps of land by your measurement, he's thinking that it's like 2 or couple of meters of land, something like that. He didn't know who he was dealing with. And so he told Lord Vamana, I'll give you, you can have a country. You can have a planet. Come on. I'm ready to give you what you want. But Lord Vamana said, no. He said, if I cannot, and this is a very important point, if I cannot be satisfied with 3 steps of land, then I could not be satisfied if I got the whole universe. And just think about that. That is really deep and really special. And of course, Shukracharya, the family priest, he understood, he got the idea, this is Vishnu in disguise. Something's going to happen here, something we don't expect. So he tried to talk Bali Maharaj out of it, and also in a number of very interesting ways, like you're probably familiar with it. If you make a promise, but you don't say Om before it, then you don't have to uphold the promise. You can break the promise. How's that? That's pretty good. So, yeah, if it's gonna cost you money, then you don't have to uphold your promise, and different things like that. And another example is in the 9th canto, Lord Ram and Mother Sita, they donated the kingdom to the Brahmins. And they were standing there, they were ready, they were standing there, at least the description seems like, with not even any clothes on. Yeah, Sita just had a nose ring, nothing else. Because signifying that you can take everything. Just take everything, it's fine. But the Brahmins said, okay, that's nice, thank you. And they gave it all back. So, but anyway, here, you get all these extreme kind of special types of situations. What can the tolerant not bear? So, of course, someone who's truly tolerant means a devotee, very advanced devotee, can literally tolerate anything. Like where is it? Is it the 8th canto? Somewhere in the Bhagvatam, the story of Dadichi. You familiar with that one? The demigods were fighting with the demons and they were not doing well. And so I forget who it was who told them, but who was it? Someone told them, what you need is the bones. Was it Lord Vishnu? The bones of a really powerful Brahmin. And if you can get those bones, you can then create a weapon and defeat the demons. So they went to Dadichi and asked him, would you mind dying for us? Could you please die so we can take your bones? and make a weapon to defeat the demons. And Dadichi understood these demigods are kind of materialistic. They're asking me to die so they can retain their kingdoms and their wealth and everything. And they want me to die. In other words, it's not very nice. But then he understood that mustn't be attached. So he said, okay. And he died, and they took his bones and defeated the demons. I mean, what would you do if you were asked? Anyway, I'll leave that with you. You can think about it. But someone who's really tolerant can basically tolerate anything. The Christians, of course, none of you are from Christian backgrounds, but Jesus is celebrated, and one of the big things is he gave his life. He was crucified for their sins. Yeah, he died for them. And they think, wow, it's a big thing. But for a transcendental person to give their life, it's not such a big thing. I mean, even like to give your life in the sense of become a brahmachari in ISKCON Newtown. Give your life. Yeah. Of course, the possibility is there to become a householder at some point if you're a brahmachari. But, certain very serious brahmacharis, they will not do that. And they'll just carry on for the rest of their life. And, in other words, give their lives for Prabhupada, for the spiritual master, for Krishna. So for those who are tolerant, what is intolerable? There's nothing which is intolerable. What will the wicked not do? Well, the answer to that is the wicked will just do anything. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. They will do anything to further their own interests. They'll kill whoever, and so many have done like that. Kamsa was just about to kill Devaki, who's like his cousin sister. Just like that. Voice from the sky. Who knows if it's real or what's really going on? Says this kind of fantastic thing. And comes to the first thing is, oh, okay, pulls out a sword, and he's just ready, cut off a head just like that. It's an example. And that the verse I read earlier, 10th Canto, chapter 1, verse 58, that's in regards to Kamsa. Yeah, what will the demons not do if they really feel they need to for their own interests? And what will the generous not give in charity? They'll give anything. They'll give their life like Dadichi. And who will those of equal vision see as an outsider? They'll see no one as a stranger. They'll see everyone, brother, sister, like that. Yes, so therefore, as Prabhupada says, thus, Sri Krishna and the Pandavas, they're encouraging Jarasandha, just agree. Don't worry about it. Don't get mental about it. Just agree to grant our request without further discussion. And anyway, they go on. There's more to read. They're basically justifying this idea of just do it and don't ask any further, don't ask any questions. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comment? Prashna? Question? Comment? Criticism? Yes, Prabhu. Hanji.
Maharaj, if some advanced personality asks something of us which is unreasonable, and if we do not comply with it, then what reaction do we get?
If we refuse.
If you refuse, yeah.
You know, what reaction? Well, I mean, you know, that's the question. We have to look at the question. The thing is, we all have spiritual masters. And if the spiritual master asks you, you should do it. And if you don't do it, you know, you will lose some of the mercy that you've received before. You'll definitely lose some of the mercy. But you're also allowed to, I mean, like discuss it and question and try and really see, is it the best thing, like that? Or like in the case of Srila Prabhupada, we were just there, day before yesterday at Prabhupada's birthplace. And, yesterday we were at the Altadanga, and there Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, first thing he said was that you are educated young men. You should preach in the West. And Prabhupada, that was 1922, and Prabhupada did not do it till, you could say, 1965, you could say. I mean, of course, he tried in India, in Jhansi, some years before, but like the Western world, that was what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said. Not just, go some nice place in India where there's all these nice Hindu people who'll be happy to donate and help and all that. But go to the West and preach there in the English language. Whew, particularly in those days. I mean, even now too, but even more so back then. So Prabhupada, from 22 to 65, that's 43 years. He didn't do it. But what he did do, though, he definitely intended to do it, and he was planning to do it, and he was preparing to do it. Like he printed his Back to Godhead in English. In India, like in the 1940s or whatever. And how many people in India spoke English in the 1940s? Not a lot. I first came here in 1976, and I tell you what, there were not many people who spoke English. We came to the Howrah station. We landed in Delhi, and then after a day or two, we flew to Kolkata, and then we took a train from Howrah to Navadweep, I think, or somewhere. That's how we got to Mayapur. So there we were at Howrah, outside, just by the entrance to the station. And all these people gathered. I mean, more than we have sitting here. Like 50 or 60 people gathered and just looked at us. Seriously. I'm completely serious. And they just looked at us. because I don't know, we had to sort out our bags or do this or do that. So we were there for like half an hour, just outside the entrance to the Howrah station, sorting things out. And these people, I tell you, practically every one of them stood there for half an hour and just looked at us, you know. Really, it was quite an experience. In the Western world, if people stare at you, then there are different ways of dealing with it. Like you can just ask them, you know, what are you looking at? Or one thing you can do is wave to the person, and then they realize, oh, I was staring, I shouldn't have done that. Because it's, you know, it's taken to be in bad taste to stare at people. So we did that with them, and they just continued staring at us. I mean, it was really quite an experience. And I mean, I'm talking about 50 or 60 people. Oh, yeah. Just standing there, just looking at us. So, yeah, it was another world. That was 1976. It was another world. And I mean, obviously, none of them, not a single one, spoke any English at all. And it was rare to find people who spoke English. Like business people, some, but not all, would speak some English. Yeah, so Prabhupada, and even, you know, so Prabhupada, he didn't just sort of think, go to the West? What do you mean? I can't go to the West. He was a householder, a young householder. You know, it's like, you know, it's a strange order. I should just, you know, not worry about it. He really took it to heart and thought about how to do it and prepared. And like I said, he was printing Back to Godhead in English and distributing it. Yeah, and he printed the Bhagvatam step by step over a period of few years in English in India, which at the time, there were extremely few people who spoke English, but it was all part of getting ready to fulfill the order of his spiritual master. And eventually he did. And, you know, we are all here, every single one of us, because Prabhupada did it. Because he went to the West and preached. We're all here. So anyway, you know, in terms of, like, if anyone just walks up to you, well, not just anyone, but a senior devotee, if the devotee is your spiritual master, really you should do it and just do your best. And if you can't figure out how to do it, you should ask. But if someone else asks you, then you should, I mean, to do something unusual. If Acharya Ratna Prabhu asks you to do something, you should just, yes, sir, just do it. Authority, but just some person. I mean, you can always ask your spiritual master or the senior devotees. But if you get, like, particularly the spiritual master or some, like, real authority asks you to do something and you're just negligent, like you just don't care, then you'll lose some of your Shakti or some of the mercy you got. Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, you told about charity, like you have quoted Srila Prabhupada that charity is most important, one of the very important this thing for Grihastha. So this is very big confusion in Grihastha's life because wherever we go, of course, ISKCON temples we go, definitely charities. Every temple we see that devotees ask for some charity, and then we already connected to some temple and we are giving charities here and sufficiently as per our capacity. So we have to say no at many places. So like I feel how to then what will be the consequence and is it right, is wrong, how to process it?
You know what I'd advise you, if you have the resources, give something. They may ask you, you know, give 10,000 rupees or something, which, you know, is a fair amount of money. And you may feel, gosh, I can't do that. But at least give something and just sort of excuse yourself by saying that, no, you're part of here, for example, and you've made commitments here, but here, you know, at least I can give something. To not give anything at all is not so good. But like, you know, you get approached by beggars, just beggars, not ISKCON temples. And it's always good to have some prasadam, particularly some prasadam, not money. It's not a good idea to give beggars, but some prasadam to give them. Yeah, to give something is good because the thing is, the giving counteracts the tendency in householder life to become like more selfish than needed. Householders have to be concerned that, you know, we've got enough for the family and so things can go on. You have to do that. But you know, I remember one devotee, an American devotee, in Prabhupada's time, he started a business. And the devotee said to him, well, now you're a businessman, could you give a donation to the temple? And he said, don't worry, I will. As soon as I've made my first $1 million, I'll give. I definitely will. And you know what? He actually became successful and he made $1 million. And they went back to him and said, well, there you go. Can you give a donation now, like something substantial? And he said, well, as soon as I've made 2 million, then I will. So in other words, householders have to be careful about, you got to be careful, I mean, responsible. But if you get sort of carried away with it beyond what you really need, then you know, it becomes like a shortcoming. Yeah. So yes, as Prabhupada said, be charitable. Don't be a miser. And you have to use some intelligence. Yeah. Even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, when he would stay at some place, you know, like some rich person's place, he would give the staff a small donation. He would often do that. You know, just a few, a rupee even, in those days. And I mean, he's the acharya, he's a sannyasi, but he would give them something, yeah, for the service they performed. Hare Krishna. I think that's enough. Heavy going. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj ki jai. We'd like to thank His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj that he came and blessed us at Shri Shinitai Gauranga Temple, ISKCON Newtown. For last 3 days he has been here and he gave yesterday. Won't ask, but he can ask. So Maharaj gave 2 days back Bhagvatam class. Today also he gave. Yesterday he gave in our Radha Govind temple. Evening programs he gave. And I saw morning till evening, night. Maharaj is so busy, and he has health concerns, and still he is at this age traveling, preaching, and inspiring. And so it has been a great blessing. Thank you, Maharaj. Just by seeing you, we are getting so much faith in the mission of Srila Prabhupada and so much inspiration. So kindly bless us. We can follow in your footsteps and serve Srila Prabhupada and his mission wonderfully. So let us thank Maharaj for coming and blessing us. Maharaj from here will be going to Mayapur for parikrama. There for 2 weeks there in Mayapur, going to all different islands and with so many devotees around the world coming. So we'd like to request Maharaj to come every year and to bless us and inspire us in Krishna consciousness. So let us thank His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj for gracing and blessing us by loudly chanting 3 times. Haribo! 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 And please forgive us for any inconvenience, any offenses, any